Order. Our first order of business tonight is to adopt the agenda for tonight's meeting. Commissioners, is there a motion to adopt the final agenda?
So moved.
Get a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Iverson and seconded by Commissioner Murray. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Our next order of business is to adopt the minutes from our October 3rd, 2023 Planning Commission meeting. Commissioners, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
A second?
Second.
I got a motion made by Commissioner Pedersen, seconded by Commissioner Racias. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. We'll now move on to our discussion items tonight. The first item for discussion is item 3.1. Consider a comprehensive plan amendment for Hunters Brook. This item does include a public hearing. I will now turn it over to City Planner Brian McCain for staff presentation. And then I will open the public hearing for those in the chambers this evening that wish to speak upon this request.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. As you mentioned, tonight we have a comprehensive plan amendment for the Hunters Brook development. So just a little background here for you. The Hunters Brook preliminary plat was approved in 2021. That is when the project density was reviewed by the staff. And then a comprehensive plan amendment was approved in 2022 for Hunters Brook and the Marsh Hollow developments. Hunters Brook Second Edition received final plat approval in July 2023 for the 40 lots in the northeast corner of the development. As I mentioned, density is reviewed at the preliminary plat stage. We don't review it at final plat. So here's a portion of the 2022 comprehensive plan amendment. Notice the area I've bolded and underlined where I pointed out that, or where the previous planner in my role pointed out that the net density for the Hunters Brook area was going to come out about 5.5 units per acre. The medium density requirement is a minimum of 6. So here you can see a map of the amendment. On the left was what was existing prior to the amendment, and then on the right is what ended up being approved. So that northeast corner parcel is where Hunters Brook Second Edition, as you can see, it went from a mix of low density and medium density to all of medium. So the issue that we ran into last month was a sewer permit being withheld by the MPCA at the recommendation of the Metropolitan Council because of a density discrepancy. So the net density of Hunters Brook Second Edition comes out to about 4.9 units per acre. As I mentioned earlier, the low density requirement is 2.25 to 6, and the medium density requirement is 6 to 12. So as it's guided right now with that medium density, we're not hitting the 6, so it needs to be guided back to low density. We've had multiple conversations with the regional planning analyst at the Metropolitan Council over the issue. This seems to be the only path for remediation, according to her, so the proposed map amendment will allow the MPCA to issue the permit so that the development can move forward. So here is the proposed map amendment for you tonight. On the left is what's existing, and on the right is what's proposed. So just changing all of that area from orange to yellow, from medium density to low density. So just to give you an overview of what this timeline looks like for the developer, if the City Council were to approve the comprehensive plan amendment on Monday, adjacent jurisdictions would need to be notified. We've been told that that will only include Carver County and the City of Chaska. And then after we've received comments from them, it will go to the Metropolitan Council for a 15-day administrative review. So tonight we noticed for a public hearing. It was posted on the city's bulletin board, and you may have noticed a new monitor in the lobby when you walked in. So that is part of our communications and IT team that will be used to post our public notices as well as the bulletin board. So has a QR code. It's pretty fancy if you want to check it out on your way out. It was also posted on the city's public notices webpage, posted in the Chanhassen Villager on October 5th, and we mailed it to property owners within 350 feet of the development border. So with that, staff's recommendation is to hold a public hearing on the request this evening and recommend the city council adopt the resolution to submit the comprehensive plan amendment to the Metropolitan Council. And with that, I have a sample motion on the screen for you tonight, and staff is available for questions.
Thank you. I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the chambers this evening who wishes to comment on this item? Hearing and seeing no one in the chambers tonight, commissioners, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Iverson, seconded by Commissioner Ream. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The motion carries and the public hearing is closed. I will now open the floor for the Planning Commission to discuss. Commissioners, are there any questions or comments?
How many homes were within 350 feet of that current situation? I didn't see it in the packet.
I can pull up the mailing list if you give me
Is
just
it
a
like
moment.
10 or is it like 1,000?
It's probably somewhere around 30, to be honest. A lot of those homes out there still have mailing addresses for the developer,
Yeah.
so unpurchased lots, but there are a few within that mailing range, so I would guess 10 to 30, somewhere in that range.
And none of them responded with anything?
No.
Didn't think so. I mean, what's the problem with this? It's fewer homes than were originally slotted, so the sewer will actually get less drainage than it would have gotten otherwise if it would have been planned to the way the comprehensive plan was built.
Commissioner Pedersen, the way that I understand it and how the Met Council works, yes, the staff had the same thought that it's planning for increased sewer usage, but this would actually have a lower usage, so
Okay.
why the discrepancy? But unfortunately, they won't even issue a conditional approval for the developer until this is approved.
All right, I just wanted to make sure I was on the same page. Thank you.
Any other comments?
So the other homes in the area are the low density currently, is what I'm.
Commissioner Reen,
for that-
so
that
I've
lower-
got it
yeah,
up
that
on the
lower tranche.
monitor here for you. This is how it's currently zoned. I can pull up what the comprehensive plan is for the area. All of, or almost all of Hunter's Brook First Edition is the low density minus this area here. So the area we're talking about tonight is this.
In reviewing the packet, it appeared to me, from what I was reading, is that it's more of a administrative technicality than anything else.
Correct.
It just has to fill the right boxes.
Commissioner Iverson, that's correct.
Follow up, is there any ask in terms of how comp plans work that the Met Council is going to be asking for a like-for-like swap in future developments in the area?
The way that I understand it when talking to our sector rep is that we're not in any concern of falling below our minimum medium or low density guidance. That's certainly something that could come up in the issue if we keep re-guiding areas from medium to low density, but at this time, they're not asking for any sort of land swap to make up for this loss.
That's what I was reading, okay, thanks.
Commissioners, hearing no more discussion, I'll ask for a motion.
I'll recommend the city adopt the resolution approving submittal of the comprehensive plan amendment to the Metropolitan Council for Hunters Brook Second Edition.
A motion,
I'll second.
a motion made by Commissioner Ream, second by Commissioner Murray. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Our second item for discussion tonight is item 3.1. Consider an ordinance and summary publication for fences and easements. This item also includes a public hearing. I will again turn it over to City Planner Brian McCain for staff presentation. And then I will open the public hearing for those in the chambers this evening that wish to speak on this request.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, tonight we are proposing an ordinance to amend zoning code section 18-9, which is for fences and retaining walls. Up on the monitor right now, I have a section of this code, notably Part A towards the bottom regarding retaining walls are not permitted within any easement. This does not address our residential fences at all being allowed or not allowed within easements, so we wanted to clarify this portion. So we've had a couple recent inquiries from some property owners. I've taken snippets of a certain development on the right of the screen. Commonly, rear yard easements are about 5 or 10 feet maximum, unless there's infrastructure in those easements. So these ones specifically have 25 to 35 foot easements in their rear yards that hold our infrastructure. We have had to recommend denial of some permits because of potential encroachments, people wanting to go all the way up to the back of the property lines, which would go over our infrastructure. So it's something the city's not technically really comfortable with. This has created some neighborhood frustration. And then the zoning code also doesn't have any other provisions to allow this. So the proposed ordinance that was included in your packet tonight includes this language, notably Part B there, where it says at staff's discretion, fences are permitted within drainage and utility easements, but it must be placed at a distance agreeable to staff to ensure utilities, infrastructure, and drainage are not impacted. And then if any damaged fencing occurs, within an easement, the city will not repair, replace, or remove it at our expense. This is fairly common in pretty much every city. If we're going to allow something within an easement, we want to make sure we're not liable for the damage, and then we also want to protect the purpose of the easement. So some benefits if we were to recommend approving tonight. Our costly infrastructure is protected. City is not responsible for the damaged fencing within, I put in quote, our easements. Property owners still allowed to install fences further towards their back property lines, just at our discretion. It's administrative, so this avoids having to go through the city council for an easement encroachment agreement for fences. And like I mentioned, city has generally done this in practice as well as other cities. This ordinance simply codifies this. So similar to the last item, we noticed for a public hearing tonight was posted on the bulletin board and it's on the monitor in the lobby. We also put it on the public notices webpage and it was posted in the Chanhassen Villager on October 5th. We didn't have a mailing for this one because it impacts the zoning code as a whole. It doesn't affect the specific property. So staff's recommendation again, hold a public hearing and recommend the city council adopt the ordinance and summary publication. With that, there's a sample motion on the screen for you and staff can stand for questions.
Thank you. I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the chambers this evening who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing no one in the chambers tonight, and hearing no additional input, commissioners, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Iverson, second by Commissioner Murray. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries and the public hearing is closed. I will now open the floor. Planning Commission to discuss. Commissioners, are there any questions or comments? Can you pull up that ordinance again? Do we want to add next to fences, or I guess the wall part? Would you want to put both of them in there or not? Or is the walls already not? I'd have to go back to that wall.
I think the retaining walls are not permitted within
They're
the
not
easement is the A, and then the B then just covers the fences.
Correct. Yeah, when we discussed with other members of staff, which by the way, our city engineer and public works director have already reviewed and signed off on this draft ordinance, we did not discuss allowing retaining walls and easements. I'm not quite sure that's something they'll want to explore either, because those are typically more impactful than a fence is.
Right, well, I'm just saying that way, but then they could, if somebody wants one, they could come and ask for variance and it would be kind of under the same thing. If we need to do work there, we damage your wall, we're not responsible. And I guess the other comment I would have, like HOAs kind of override the city also. If the HOA doesn't require fences, then it doesn't matter what the city says.
Correct.
So it's currently written now, retaining walls are not permitted, period, end stop. And that's.
An easement.
Correct.
In the,
In an
yeah,
easement.
in the easement,
Yep.
of course, yeah.
How much of a headache is this gonna be for staff? I mean, are we gonna have hundreds of people requesting these, or is it like 5?
Recently, we've had a lot of inquiries about this. I'm not the one who actually works on the permits. That would be the associate planner here, Will Buhager. He informed me before the meeting that he's actually received another one today in a different development who is running into the same issue. Large easements. We have infrastructure back there. We don't want it damaged. So at least we can say, okay, locate the line, pull the fence 10 feet off that. You can still be in the easement, maybe just not as much as he hoped. So that's the intention of this ordinance.
So where it says a minimum distance agreeable to staff, that seems very variable as staff may change. Is that opening ourselves up to, I mean, you just said 10 feet. Like, does it make more sense to actually delineate so it's a little more concrete, or or do you prefer to have the flexibility?
The flexibility helps us because some properties will have different easements compared to others. Some might have, let's say, a 40-foot drainage utility easement, and we might look and see there's actually nothing back there. We may say, all right, since we don't see any problem and the public works director doesn't see any foreseeable, I guess, problem, we could say, all right, maybe staff discretion says you can go in 35 feet because we don't see a problem. But there are some properties that may have a 20-foot drainage utility easement and we have a sewer pipe going right along there. We're gonna, if let's say the public works director needs to rip it up, do repairs, we're gonna need at least enough space to back up a truck, vehicles. Then we might say through staff discretion, we want around maybe 10 to even 15 foot. That way we'd be able, if work needed to be done, we'd have the space, because at the end of the day, we don't want to rip up anybody's fences. We don't want to destroy someone's property. So we do this varying degree. It gives us a little bit of wiggle room to work with the resident. That way we're not just smashing down saying absolutely not. We want to work with them, but at the end of the day, we do want to protect the infrastructure that we have.
Thank you.
How deep is most of this infrastructure?
It varies.
Be around 7 feet under the ground.
Yeah.
Be around 5 feet.
Yeah.
That would be a question pertaining to, we might have to ask Kara for that one, but it depends.
I mean, I've heard Dave, our public works director, talk in meetings about water mains that are 20 feet deep. You know, it just depends on what type of utility is in there. But 7 feet sounds about right for an average for some of them.
I'm just thinking a fence pole, go down 3 feet, 4 feet? It's probably not gonna touch anything, even if there is a mistake. Yeah, I guess my only question would be the amount of work that it's gonna be putting on you guys. It sounds like you're capable of handling it. And then, I don't know, just not quite the grandfather clause, but the neighbor clause, 3 of my neighbors put a fence in here. I'm gonna do the same thing. They don't go through and get all the permits. Little do we know, there's a pipe that goes through there. That'll be their fault, but it'll be a lot of headaches for you guys at some point. So if you're all right with it,
In that scenario that you presented, there's a possibility that maybe they put it at a distance that's agreeable to staff. As it's written right now, we would go through enforcement and have them, or suggest that they remove it, whereas here they have an option to keep it where it is.
sure. Makes sense. Thank you.
More discussion? Commissioners, hearing no more discussion, I will ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend the city council adopt the ordinance and summary publication to amend section 18-9 of the zoning code.
Need a second?
Second.
I got a motion made by Commissioner Iverson, second by Commissioner Macias. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Our final item for discussion tonight's meeting is item 3.3, our mid-year report of the Planning Commission. I will now turn it over to City Planner Brian McCain for a brief overview before the Planning Commission discuss.
Thank you, Chair. Tonight, I didn't feel like this item needed a PowerPoint presentation, so I'm simply gonna read off what was in the packet for all of you. So as you all know, we have a mid-year report that is required to go to the City Council to update them on the Planning Commission's progress throughout the year. So over the last 6 months, I went through past agendas and looked over, and you've reviewed 1 sketch plat, 4 preliminary plats, 1 final plat, 1 annexation request, 5 variances, 2 conditional use permits, 2 comprehensive plan amendments, 5 rezoning and/or planned unit developments, 6 ordinances, and you conducted 10 public hearings. So with that, you've also, or some of those ordinances that you've reviewed were for proposed changes to the central business district, ordinances for fence requirements, an ordinance for process improvement, and the shoreland flexibility ordinance. Also, you have worked on notable land use projects within the city, such as the Roars Project, the Amir Project, as well as some single-family development like Huntersbrook, Hunters Glen, and Huntersburg Creekside. And then we are also planning to hold the yearly orientation at our next meeting on Wednesday, November 8th. That will take place prior to the regular meeting. For those of you that weren't able to attend the last meeting, that's what we decided on. So yeah, that's generally the report that is proposed to go to the City Council. If you have any modifications or if you're just okay with the proposed report, just let us know, and we'll get that to City Council next week, which I believe Chair Kuhn will be presenting at.
Sounds to me like we did a lot of work.
Correct? You did. Great job, everyone.
Any more discussion on this item?
Look good to me.
It's good.
Hearing no more discussion, that concludes our discussion items for this evening. Moving on to miscellaneous section of our agenda. Staff, is there any miscellaneous items for tonight?
Only noteworthy item is the workshop that I just mentioned. So next meeting, if you can all be here by 5:15, that would be greatly appreciated so that we can go over the yearly orientation.
I believe that's on the 8th rather than the
Correct.
7th.
Yep, that's
The only change.
Wednesday, November 8th, because that Tuesday is election day. So Wednesday, the 8th, 5:15 PM.
Thank you. Commissioners, you have any items you'd like to discuss?
What's this for?
To vote on
Correct.
pictures.
The city clerk collects those, so if you want to look at the art throughout the council chambers and write down which one is your favorite, you can hand that to staff and we can pass that off to the city clerk. I'm not quite sure what she does with the votes, to be honest, but I know she appreciates the input from everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's already ready to vote. He only looked at one.
No more items to come before us tonight. May I get a motion to adjourn?
We'll move to adjourn this meeting.
I get a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Murray, second by Commissioner Pedersen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. We are now adjourned.
Really colorful.